Rev up your engines!
Well, the Brits are at it now. They are suing Google for unfair advertising. They want £13.6 billion, which is about $16.3 billion, saying there's anti-competitive business Google's doing by taking over the advertising world, right? Here's what's wrong with the Brits. They try to control everything with government bureaucracies. Let's take a example that maybe if this would have happened, to make a funny movie anyways, right? They started to invent cars, right? They were more efficient than horses. They didn't poop on the ground. You didn't have to feed them, right? You just put gas and drove them around. If we were living in those days, I suppose all the people who sold horses and wagons would get together and they'd sue the inventor of cars saying, that's anti-competitive. They had a better system and it went through, right? In the case of Google, they got a better system that works. And now these small people, it's not fair to us little guys in advertising, blah, 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 blah. Advertising, right? Everybody knows advertising is baloney. People will say anything. As long as you pay the advertising agency, they'll say just about anything. Brass balls that these people have suing Google in England for billions of dollars because it's not fair. They do a better job than we do. Please help us out. We're just poor little advertising companies, right? In the UK, right? The rest of the Europeans, they're joining in too because, you know, they want money for nothing because the European Economic Area and their headquarters are in the Netherlands say in 2023 they're going to file their own even bigger billion-dollar suit against Google. And here's the funniest thing. It gets even more layers and layers of lawyers. Listen to this. City litigation firm Humphreys Kerstetter is also acting on the claim, which is being funded by litigation funder Harbor. There's litigation firm on top of litigation firm. They're funding this thing. So of course, they want to get their cut of it, right? It's just unbelievable. One litigation funder being funded by another litigation funder to sue Google because they did a good job at what they do. You know, it's too much. To me, it's just too much. They want something for nothing. It's got a problem with Europe. They're living on the laurels. Oh, we're Europe. Oh, we have history. Yeah, history of leeching off of people. That's basically what it comes down to. That's why the European Union is such a pile of garbage. Just a bunch of layabouts wanting to get something for nothing. Look at Spain. Look at Greece. Economically, the disaster areas, right? And why should the other countries have to pay money to these people that aren't doing their job? In this case, they want money for nothing, like the old song goes. Like that Dire Straits song, right? Money for nothing and the chicks are free. In this case, I don't know if the chicks are free, but the money they're trying to get is for nothing too. You know? They didn't do such a good job. Google did. Now they're mad and they want their money. It's a mad world, mad world. Lower 1919 says, got a 2015 Dodge Charger SXT. Should I keep it or sell it? It's got 109,000 miles. I've had to replace everything you can think of. It's fine, but I was wondering, is it worth keeping? I feel the mileage and the amount of repairs I've done just aren't adding up. Let's say this. It's probably the tip of the iceberg, what you've spent so far. Those do become endless money pits as they age. The quality of Dodges aren't that great. And since, when Fiat took it over, it's bad enough. And now it's part of Stellantis, the Three Stooges, Fiat, Chrysler, and Peugeot. The French are involved, so it's getting even worse. No, if I were you, I'd get rid of it. Hey, prices are still pretty high for used cars. If you can get good money for it now, get it now, because it's going to be an endless money pit that goes on. You didn't say whether you replaced the engine or transmission yet, and if you haven't, you probably will have to soon. Dupac says, my Lincoln Navigator stalls when I shift into reverse. Sometimes I have to go 4 or 5 times before it goes. I took it in and they said, well, your torque converter's starting to go out, but you really need a remanufactured transmission, which is going to be $5,500, but the AC's going out. Fuel gauge doesn't read right. I've had the vehicle for almost 20 years and love it, but since it's only worth $3,000, I think I'll have to let her go. What would you do? Yeah, I'd get rid of it. Now, here's the thing. That's worth a try. You got 215,000 miles. I guarantee you the thing's wearing out. But get some Lucas anti-slip stop transmission additive. Take a quart out of the transmission fluid, drain it out. You can put a suction and suck it out, whatever. Then put the Lucas anti-slip and give it 250 miles of driving. And if it works, it'll give you a little bit more time. But realize with that kind of mileage on it, it's a Lincoln Navigator. You know, it's a top-of-the-line Ford. As they age, they become electrical nightmares. With the mileage you have, if the Lucas doesn't help at all, I would just get rid of it and get another vehicle. There's time when it's time to say goodbye. Why would you put $5,500 into a car that's worth $3,000? It just wouldn't make any sense. Be logical about machines. Don't get emotional. We had a good run. Time for something else. Mark Creighton says, should I use antifreeze in the desert? I need to know, should I really have antifreeze where I live in the desert? My vehicle's losing water. I don't want to spend a lot of money. One, it depends how cold it gets in the desert. I know many deserts freeze at night. If they freeze and you're on water, boop, it expands, it'll crack your engine. Goodbye vehicle, right? Realize that. Now, you also really need antifreeze in modern vehicles because they're designed for the specific heat that antifreeze and water 50-50 mix uses. Plus, if you just run it on water, you get what's called cavitation. Your water pump spins real hard, and if it's just water, it will actually corrode the inside of the engine and the water pump. It'll break and start leaking from cavitation. It doesn't do that when you have antifreeze. It's got more lubricants in it, so it doesn't have that problem. It doesn't bubble up like water does when it's foamy. So really, you're better off using antifreeze. Find out why. Maybe you got a leak somewhere, hose, water pump, replace that, because you really don't want to run a modern car on water alone. Now, I mean, if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere and the only thing there is water, sure, put the water in. But then when you can, put antifreeze in. Now, you don't have to do it immediately. I mean, it would take months and months and years to really do serious damage, but if you want to keep your vehicle, you want to do it right. Only in an emergency would you just put water in. Stanley Steamer says, how do I fix ABS activation malfunction? It's coming out of my 2006 Jeep Grand Cherokee V8 all-wheel drive. The ABS light came on, so I replaced the wheel speed sensor. And I pulled the fuse to stop the code and put it back in. And it worked okay, but now it's back on again. How can I fix it? You tried the obvious thing, the wheel speed sensors. That didn't fix it, right? This is the problem with ABS systems. They're very complex, computer-driven systems. They have ABS modulator systems that work with little solenoids, and the computers activate them, and they get information from the speed sensor so the wheels don't lock up, and that goes through computer modules. They're very complex. Your light is on. Find a guy like me who understands how they work and has a very expensive computer, and they scan them. We would scan them, we'd look at the data, and then we would do bidirectional testing. We can test whether something's working or not. Let's say it had a code for the ABS modulator. Well, we could test various solenoids using the computer we have. And if you did like computer solenoid 3, and then you did it and you saw, hey, solenoid 3 didn't open because our machines are bidirectional. We can command the solenoid to open. You'll see, did it open or not? And if it didn't open, you'd know, hey, the solenoid's probably bad because it didn't open up. But that's very expensive equipment. If you want to have ABS brakes, you're better off paying a mechanic than guessing. Because if you guess, you're just guessing. You guessed with sensors, it didn't fix the thing. There's so many things that can go wrong. And let's face the facts. It's an '06 Jeep. I mean, that thing is pushing 20 years old. It's amazing that it worked that long. From my experience with those things, it's probably in the modulator or in the computer module itself. So if you want to fix it, have a mechanic like me at least go through it and diagnose it. Realize most mechanics charge $150 up per hour labor. Maybe you'll just live without the ABS, because when ABS goes out, it reverts to non-ABS normal brakes. You might just live with it if you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. Like I say, you want to figure it out yourself, you're going to have to buy some pretty expensive equipment, because the ones that actually do bidirectional controlling cost thousands. There are ones that will do ABS codes and stuff for $200-300, but they don't do bidirectional testing like the expensive ones do. Here we go with GM. Now GM V8 engines are making lots of noises, and here's what GM says. And I quote, strange V8 engine sounds are normal. And they give a whole list of these noises. And that don't have a parts replaced in your car. That's normal. They make noise. Well, you know, when I was a kid, we had a V8 Chevy that I learned how to drive on. That thing was quiet as can be. It didn't make any noise at all, right? What the heck is wrong with their engineers? That was, 1966. You'd think 2022 they could make quiet engines, right? But no, their quality control's crap. Their engineering is crap. And then what do they say? Oh, we're going to be the leaders in electric cars, electric technology. Well, they aren't a leader in building normal cars. What makes anyone think they're going to do a better job building a new technology when they can't even make the old technology work? The engines are making squeaks, chirps, and they're even sputtering. And GM says, oh no, this is normal. And they say, these have these stupid engine stop-start systems. And they say, engine restart. Following complete engine shutdown, Spark is timing to prevent engine overspeed and has a torque bump. This bump only lasts about a second. A light blip of the throttle while in park neutral is being reduced to prevent engine overspeed, and you hear the sound. It's barely noticeable. Come on now. They can't even make engines that are quiet. What are they doing, If they were quieter in 1966 than they are today, they're obviously doing something wrong. You don't see the other car manufacturers saying, oh, that noise is normal, that noise is normal. You don't buy a Honda or a Toyota and generally get weird noises every once in a while. They screw up on something, and they do make a noise, but they don't put out Bolton and say, here's all the noises our engines make. These are all normal. Don't worry about it. Yeah. It's like when you go in with the GM and say, my engine's burning off. Oh, well, that's normal. Yeah, it's normal in a piece of crap that isn't made right, but it's not normal in an engine that's made correctly. Now they got a whole list of things to tell you. Well, if you buy one of our cars, these noises are normal. You know what I say? You want a normal engine? Don't buy one of their products. Buy somebody else's that doesn't normally make these stupid noises. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.